everything you thought you knew about shade gardens. If you've got a dark, dingy corner in your garden that is crying out for a little bit of a makeover, this video might be for you. The shade is not your worst enemy. There are a plethora of plants that you can make it much more attractive with. So join me while I plan my woodland garden, which I've been dreaming about since we first got here. And I might have made a few changes. Yeah, nothing ever stays the same in a garden, does it? Since I started this channel, I've been talking about making a woodland walk over here. Mainly because the previous occupants of this house planted these beautiful silver birch there. But as you can see, we're now coming to the beginning of autumn, so 21st of September, and it's in sun. So my whole reasoning for making a woodland there was simply because those silver birch exist. And as everybody always says, right plant, right location. So if I start planting all the beautiful shade-loving plants that I have accumulated on my patio in this location, they're not going to love it. It's too sunny. So I've had a rethink. This side of the garden has more mature trees that are casting a lot more shade. So there's just deep shade under here. It's fairly moist because we've had torrential rain overnight and all yesterday. But this area is cool and shady, and it's really beautiful underneath this willow tree. I will, over time, when funds allow, add more trees, some natives, and other beautiful things. I think an alamancha, either a shrub or tree, a rowan maybe, a crab apple, those kinds of things. In the aerial shot video that I did, I marked this area tentatively as a wildflower meadow. Well, what I'm going to do is a prairie style meadow using perennials as well as wildflowers in the centre here, and then plant trees, shrubs and bushes all the way around the outside. I will, by virtue of default, make a walk that goes around the edge of the prairie. So some of the plants I've bought are shade or partial shade lovers. We have got a Sambuca nigra, which is a shrub and is basically an elderberry, but it has beautiful pink flowers in the summer, berries in the autumn. We've got fabulous heuchera. Isn't that a fabulous colour? Semi-evergreen. We've got some epimedium, which make a beautiful mound of ground cover and have beautiful dainty orange flowers. These ones, you can get them in other colours. Beautiful Mahonia, Cabaret with its fabulous orangey red and yellow flowers. This is a tub of dirt for all intents and purposes. I might actually hold off planting that until spring. It's a bleeding heart, but I will forget where it is given that it's got no greenery. We've got a twisted hazel shrub. We've got a Deutzia, Pride of Rochester, which has white flowers, some beautiful ground cover cyclamen. The thing about shade-loving areas is, and shade-loving plants particularly, is there will be a lot of green. So variations in green and variations in leaf shape and style are essential to add interest. Obviously the heuchera has red leaves, you can get it in lots of beautiful colours. The epimedium have beautiful leaves. They do change colour during the autumn, so that's an extra bit of interest. And then you've got things like spiky leaves, filigree leaves, lovely little lacy leaves, nice round mound leaves. So try and vary the leaf shape and style as well as the colours if you can. Now, any woodland, if you go into nature and have a look around, will be split into a fairly simple 3/4 layers. You will have the top canopy. If you're looking up through your woodland, you'll have those trees that are really tall and majestic. And then as you come down into a lower level, you will have shrubs. Things like elderberry and Mahonia, rhododendrons, that kind of thing. And then you'll come down to your herbaceous perennials, which are the low-lying beautiful things like heuchera, ferns, hostas, biennials and perennials like foxgloves, epimedium, astilbe, and then you'll get low ground cover plants like cyclamen, smaller hostas, hellebores, and then the underground plants like bulbs, and the likes of bluebells and trilliums and things like that that'll pop up early in the season when the canopy is more open. But if you've got a canopy like a silver birch over there, which loses its leaves, or a maple like this beautiful red one in front of me, they're going to lose their leaves, so there's going to be much more light on the ground in the winter months. And that's when your little bulbs will take advantage of it and come up in the early spring before the canopy fills back in, and they will flower their heads off before disappearing just as the leaves reappear on your beautiful lower level trees and shrubs. So we need to mimic that in the garden situation if you want to build a woodland. If you've just got a shady spot and you don't want to make it woodland-like, you can just plant some herbaceous perennials and they will thrive. If you want to create more of a woodland like I'm trying to do here, you're going to need taller shrubby-like plants, but they are going to turn into quite big shrubs. So I need to allow space for them to develop. So I think what I'm going to do to start with is lay out my shrubby level and then work in the perennials between them, and then the sort of spot things like the foxgloves space. Bearing in mind that we are going to be looking at these, and you can't really see them, they're so small, from lots of different angles. You need to take that into consideration. Where is your footpath going to be? How are you going to be approaching this? Which side are you going to see it from the most? So my intention is to get a dogwood or two, because they come in such fabulous winter colours. That would add a spark of colour during the winter months. Next down, I'm going to go with things like the ferns and the astilbe. And actually, if you've got a big pot of fern, you might be able to split it into more than one plant. So the light just catching it there, isn't that beautiful? So we're thinking about leaf texture, shape and colour. So it's got salmony red coral in it. I'm thinking that the heuchera, or coral bells as it's sometimes known, should be reasonably close. Thinking maybe over here somewhere. Although this astilbe has gone over, this was already colour 2. So I think that one can come somewhere close to those. And we are considering its eventual height as well. So actually I might swap that over. The temptation is to put them really close together to have instant impact, but I've got to bear in mind that I've got a lot of bulbs to go in between. I will get these laid out roughly where I think they should be, and I will come back to you. They don't look very much at this size, do they? But these things grow, remember, and smaller plants are cheaper. So I'm imagining a path that will come here and it will come past here, so these plants could come out a little bit, but I have got bulbs to go in, and I imagine that it will split about here and go that way and round to where Bonnie is under the tree for a little seating, little bench seat just here, just a little spot to sit. We've got the foxgloves weaving their way through there. We've got a few ferns, the heart's tongue ones which are evergreen. Then we've got the hellebores dotted about, and the epimediums. There's one there. And we've got a bonnie flower as well. Yeah. So what am I thinking? Do I need to move anything? So this is my path walking alongside. I have got to dig the holes, of course, take up the grass, and I have got some bark mulch. Obviously, if you've got leaf mould, that would be even better. I have still got my cyclamen to put out, which will be pops of colour, and I will intersperse them. I think there's 6 plants in each. I'll intersperse them in amongst the things to bring out that reddy pink over there. And the foxgloves have dark red throats. In this pot I have snowdrops from my old garden, and I think this one is what I call snowflakes. I don't know what the real name is. I'll look it up and put it on the screen for you. They're like tall snowdrops for all intents and purposes. And then we've got a big box of bulbs. So we've got honey bells, which are a pinky purpley colour, as you can see from the photo. I'll plant those in amongst the pinky area as well. those from the supermarket. Then we've got some Camasias, which are tall. I'll put a picture on your screen. You can get Camasias in blues and pinks as well. And of course, I've got some Narcissus pheasant eye. They're the white ones with a little orange throat. And I've got some blue pearl iris. Tete-a-tetes, they're the small dwarf little yellow daffodil. Bluebells. Now, when planting your bulbs, most gardening programs tell you to do is take a handful, throw them up in the air and plant them where they land to make them look more natural. But I think I'm going to do that, but first I need to get all these shrubs planted. It's all got a little bit too much for Bonnie, I think. Just look at that now. Isn't it beautiful? It's almost completely red now. It's still got a little tinge of green in the leaves, but blood red. I'm wondering if it will go orange next. What do you think? Shall we go get coffee and then decide whether that's the right layout or not? Yeah, we'll come back to it in a minute. I'm going to have one last walk round, decide if I'm happy with it, and then I've found some more foxgloves and some primulas. I'm going to add those to the mix as well. If I add in these extra foxgloves over on this side, it'll extend the interest of flowers onto this side of the garden as well. Right, so we've got some more foxgloves, as I say. They're not quite as big as the others, but they're the same variety. Pam's Choice. This is where we discover the roots are so big from the tree that I can't dig a hole, but we'll have a go, eh? Oh, that's actually quite soft because we've had quite a lot of rain, so that's handy. I want to keep as much of the topsoil as I can, but remove the grass. It's not bad soil, to be honest, considering we're under a tree. Let's see if we can split this plant. I'm going to actually cut through it with my secateurs. A knife would do the job too. As you can see, the roots are really fibrous on a fern, and it helps them to absorb water from a shallower depth than trees and shrubs. Cut through the roots and prise it apart. Right, okay. Now we have 2 ferns. So that's going to go in there. Put the worm back in that pulled out. And a mulch with some compost. That's the first one in. Means I've got a half a fern to find a home for. Just need to water that in now. Okay, I think I'll get that foxglove in next. Well, that one came out fairly easily as well. As you can see, there are a couple of little roots here, nothing major. You can just snip those off. And then this beautiful foxglove is going to go in as well. Now to get it out of the pot. As I said before, there we go. These bamboo pots are not very flexible, but that's got quite a good root system, eh? I potted these on about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so that's done really well. I'm going to just fill around, backfill with my soil and compost mixture. 2 down, 1,000,000 to go. I'm getting quite hot. I might have to go and take my sweatshirt off and put a t-shirt on. Right, after a quick drink and change into my t-shirt. Do you like my t-shirt? Isn't it cute? Right, I'm not going to bore you with digging all these holes and planting all these things. It's the same as I've just done for those. But once I finish planting and I'm ready to start bulb planting, then I will switch the camera back on and show you the next phase. So end of day 1, I've planted 16 or so plants. Yeah, but what I'm going to do now is water these in and then pick it all up again tomorrow. Today we have our first official frost. And there goes a heron flying over. But yes, first official frost. It is now well past lunchtime. This morning we had to go to a well-known DIY store to pick up a few supplies for the greenhouse, which is coming soon. A week today, in fact, it's coming. That's amazing. And while I was at said DIY store, I may have picked up a couple more plants. I've got a lovely new blueberry, but for the purpose of this video, I've picked up this beautiful limey coloured heuchera. So yeah, I'm going to take that up there and add that to the collection. So I am going to add this one to the mix. I don't know where yet though. So let's see, I've got 2 heucheras. I haven't planted the red one yet either. But I might put that on this side of the garden. Right, better get to work, and I'm going to start by planting this one. I think what I'm going to do is lay out the bulbs on this side now to show you where they're going to go. Then do the cardboard and the mulching on this side. Before I knew how soft the ground was around these trees, I bought this auger drill bit that you attach to an ordinary household drill to help you make planting holes. So there's 2 pieces. That's the smallest of the 2. Goes into your drill bit in there, and then it drills into the ground and pulls the soil out. Oops, and this is the big one for daffodils and the like. And I probably will need that one for the deeper bulbs, but I think I might be able to just dig the hole for the little ones like the snowdrops and things. So I'm going to start with the Camasias. There are 12 of them. Now, as I say, I do prefer odd numbers. I might do 5 on the other side of the tree. And because they're quite tall, I'm going to intersperse them in between the foxgloves, I think. In theory, to look completely natural, I should just throw these up in the air and plant them where they land. But I've never been able to do that. Maybe with the smaller bulbs, but if I just chuck them... Yeah, that wouldn't look great, would it? They're too close together. Now, I just need to decide whether I want to plant all of the daffodils together, all of the tete-a-tetes, all of the crocus in one batch, rather than splitting it between the 2 sides of the tree. I'm going to start with these honeybells because I've only got 20 of these, and they are quite tall. So these grow up to 80 centimetres. So actually they're bigger than the Camasias that I've just laid out. I don't know if you can see these because they're very small, but I've got a cluster of 9 here. I've got a cluster of 7 here in this middle bit, and a little 3 over there. So I probably need something else, maybe the daffodils to wind their way through here, because they'll be reasonably big. Right, we have just had a scatterfest. Doug encouraged me just to throw them on the ground and to try not to correct them. The ones that have fallen under a plant obviously won't go under a plant, but they have been scattered to the best of my ability. Ooh. It's pretty efficient, eh? The ground is quite moist, though, I have to say, so it's doing well. Okay, keep going, Doug. I'll get the trowel. He's doing it because he knows that if I'm doing it, I'll straighten them. Trying to be naturalistic, eh? Now, one thing we've just noticed is if you use the bulb planter, which is one of these traditional things, it pulls a plug of soil out and you can squeeze it back and stick it back in the hole. But it's much harder work than actually just doing that. But of course it doesn't give you the soil back to fill the hole. So then you've got to go around and put soil back in the holes. So I've got compost that I can put over the top of them. Right, as the sun sets on another day, it doesn't look like we've changed all that much, but we've planted all of those bulbs. There must have been, I don't know, 200 bulbs or something. So yeah, the sun's going down beautifully now. Look at them, aren't they stunning? And the colour of this in the sunshine, it's just beautiful. This, I think, is going to be my sitting spot, because you'll be able to see a big swathe of bulbs here, and foxgloves and Camasias, and I haven't planted the bluebells yet. I'm tempted to just make an area under the tree in the grass for the bluebells. But I still have probably the same amount of bulbs again to go on this side. It's not going to be an instant garden, obviously. You're not going to be able to see what the bulbs look like until next spring. But I have put the pictures on screen so you can see what they look like, or are supposed to look like, if they come up. Obviously, there's no guarantees that they will. But fingers crossed, all those fabulous bulbs will make a blanket of colour underneath here in the springtime. It'll be amazing. Hello everybody, we have got another beautiful day. There is a microglider just coming over, just as I want to film. And whether you can see that, I'll zoom in, I think, if you can definitely hear it. Last night we did get down to 3 degrees. The night before apparently was 0, that's why we had the ground frost. And this morning there was a slight frost on the grass, but it's now melted because I've been doing housework. As you can see, it's in full shade now. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is the bit of geranium I just dug up. It looks like I've destroyed it, but even a little piece like this will grow. It has got some roots and they grow by sort of runners. So all of these, to be fair, could make individual plants. I'm going to quickly dig a hole. And I will, as I say, over time keep adding more and more plants. Where are all my gloves left hands? Where are all the right-handers, eh? Now it will look like I've killed it for probably a day or two before it starts growing again. And some of the leaves may very well have been snapped off. I'll give it a good soak. I'll have to water this for the next week or so. And now that I've watered, I will just give it a little bit more compost mulch around the top. All right there, Bells? Right, we have some cardboard. I do need to take off all the sellotape and any staples. So I'm thinking smaller bits would be more useful. So I'm literally gonna leave a gap around the plants, but lay them out overlapped. But yeah, it's going down quite nicely because it's already slightly damp from our leaky shed. There are alternative ways of doing this, obviously. You could dig up the turf and just have bare soil, but that does leave it open to weeds getting in. Or you could put down plastic sheeting and kill off the grass entirely. This way, I'm hoping the plants will have time to establish, the cardboard will rot down underneath the bark mulch, and the bark mulch will then be on the ground and the bulbs will come up through that. We have finally cardboarded it all. As you can see, big mass of cardboard. The gaps are basically where the plants are and the bulbs are underneath the cardboard. But now we need to water it and put the bark mulch on. And now it's just a case of pulling the bark mulch over the cardboard. So it needs to be a few inches thick, I would say. And more importantly, squash this cardboard down while it's wet. Give it a good trampling. And even it out a little bit. As you can see, we're about halfway now, I would say. I've left it a good couple of inches thick, maybe even 3 in places. Not bad, eh? It looks a little bit sparse at the moment, but there are a lot of bulbs, as you saw. I might even put that other heuchera in there because it's a limey green and it'll pick up the colours a little bit. But yeah, really pleased with that. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next week.